Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special Prog Report episode. It's our mid-year 2023 podcast. There you go. And joining me is Kyle Fagala. You've seen a lot of our faces on the YouTube channel lately for some reason, doing different reaction videos and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to be a bit more active on the YouTube channel. We're not always great about it, but we also have the audio podcast, which has a lot of the similar stuff. If you're not catching us on YouTube, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever else you get your podcasts and all that stuff. And of course, all our stuff is on progreport.com and our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and wherever else. We're very annoying about being everywhere. Hi, Kyle. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. It looks like you got like a little 5 o'clock shadow.
You
and
like
it's
this?
just, I think it's just like 1:30. So this is amazing. My facial hair does not grow that quickly. So
It's
no.
the dim lighting. I'm trying to create mood lighting, and
okay.
it gives me a fancy look. Yeah.
I like it. I'm doing good. I went and saw Foo Fighters on the non-mirrored Foo Fighters, I suppose. I went and saw them on Friday, and they were awesome. So
Yeah.
yes, good times.
I've only seen them once, unfortunately, and but they're great. I did get to see them with Taylor, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, how was that show? Real quick, not that has anything to do with this podcast.
That has nothing to do with Prague, although they did play their 10-minute song, which is, I guess, a mini epic in the Prague world. And you could say that it's The Teacher is the name of the song. It's the penultimate song on the newest album. And it's a good song, and it has, kind of Prague leanings, let's say. They were great. And, I think any conversation has to filter through conversation of Taylor Hawkins. And he's sort of a guy that can't be replaced, but Josh Freese is as good as anybody they could hope for. And ironically, he actually played in The Replacements, so he is a replacement in multiple senses of the word, I guess.
Oh,
but
did he?
He was awesome. I mean, he was really, really, really good, and he's really like the perfect fit for them. And to me, they were tighter and seemed to have a little bit more renewed energy than even when I've seen them before. It's like the fourth time I've seen them. So go catch them. Again, I know, not Prague, but...
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the best of the Prague stuff that's come out so far this year. Or I mean, there's probably way more than even we're going to cover. I will say outside of Prague, my favorite album has been that Foo Fighters But Here We Are record, which I think is phenomenal. So if you like them and you like other stuff than what we're about to get into, I think that's a great one. Check that out.
Yeah, it is.
And yes, I am wearing these AirPod things in my ears for the first time on one of these things. So
it looks totally natural. You could have never told. If you hadn't said anything, I would have never known.
Oddly enough, I will say I'm pretty much wearing these almost all day long when I'm not doing a podcast.
Oh, okay.
I wear them everywhere all the time. So
there you go.
yeah, I'm always listening to music. That's the only way to keep up with all this stuff that we have to listen to.
Yeah.
All right, so we have I picked 15 songs from 15 different albums, things that have already been released. So if it's just a single that's come out without an album, we're not covering that. These are just full albums that have already come out in really no particular order. A lot of these I'm sure we'll revisit on our end of the year podcast as well. And you said some of these you haven't even heard, so this will be your first time to check them out and just sort of see. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in and go ahead and put the other screen here. Cool. All right, our first one is RPWL, longtime band. They've out of Germany. I think this is maybe their 8th record. I don't remember. Some of the stats, by the way, that we throw out in this podcast are maybe wrong because we have nothing written down. It's all from memory. But I love this album. This is a really good one. If you like this band, if you like stuff like IQ, Marillion, older Porcupine Tree stuff, Pink Floyd, the singer sounds a lot like David Gilmour. The guitar playing kind of has a Gilmour feel to it. Mm-hmm. So there's a long epic on the album called King of the World, which I think is really good. So we'll check out a little bit of that. Well, there you go. What do you think of that?
That's a cool one. This is the one. So I'll be honest, not super familiar with this band. And when you told me it was like their 8th album, I was like, oh, really? But this is the one that jumped out to me as probably one of my favorites of these 15. Definite David Gilmour. There at the end of that, I actually heard some Riverside, which obviously Riverside is kind of doing their own best version of Pink Floyd at times as well. So I guess it's inescapable to sound like Pink Floyd when you're a prog band. But I like it. I think it's really cool. So it was, nothing like life-changing, but it all sounded really good.
Yeah. So agreed. I mean, I think there's some aspect to some of these prog albums that they don't always have to be groundbreaking. That's sort of how I look at it. I have a sort of feeling about a lot of these albums that come out that generally, because it's in the genre that it is, and it's sort of that same kind of mentality and musicianship quality and production and stuff like that, I can generally find something good on most of these albums that I, to like. It doesn't always mean. Somebody asked me, are there any of these albums that you think you'd put on a best of the decade type of thing? And I couldn't possibly know that, but maybe. I don't know. I only know if I go back to it later on, and I haven't had that opportunity with any of these yet, right? So it's hard to tell, but yeah, generally I like all the stuff that comes out mostly. Some obviously better than others. But
this will be one that I'm listening to after this podcast. Is actually I want to hear the whole album and kind of get into it. So
yeah, that's a really good one. All right, the next one is Ray Alder, former singer of Fates Warning, has his second solo album on Inside Out called Just Simply 2. This is the second single, Waiting for Some Sun. There's a bit more of a Fates Warning prog element on this album than the first solo record he did. Same musicians on this one. His voice, though, to me, I like his voice on this solo stuff because I like actually when he just sings normal and doesn't have to do the high screeching stuff. That's how this song kind of is. I really like the chorus in this song. It's sort of understated, but I dig it. So this has been my favorite single so far from his album.
There's Ray.
And it's hard to escape from the torment, just hiding from the rain, waiting for some sun. But we will take the blame now that it's been discovered.
They're in a darker room than you, Roy, so it's okay. Way moodier.
Yeah. I mean, it's low key. It's kind of got a groove to it. I like the melody behind it. I don't know. It kind of works for me.
How does that compare to A through Z for you?
I like
that's how they say it, A to Z, but it's A through Z, I think. Yeah.
I like this album better than that one. Although that one was kind of cool. That was also good. But I like this solo album very much. I thought it was good. It's, again, is it groundbreaking? I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but a lot of good songs. And if you like Ray's voice, he sounds great. So
I feel like the groundswell for this that album was pretty positive, was it not? I mean, it seemed like people that like Fates, that like him, were excited about it. I mean, that is not me in the category of people who's like, excited about Fates Warning or him. I'm not one of those, but right. Like Kyle Graves, like for example, his thought on it was pretty positive, was it not?
Yes, he's a big fan of Ray's, and I think he liked it. He did like it because he wrote the review. That's how I know.
There you go.
Mystery, Canadian band.
The Pickup Artist. He was on that show. Yeah. You remember the Pickup Artist?
Was he?
Yeah, with the guy with the hat that taught people how to pick up dates.
I do remember that show. Yeah.
There's a great Saturday Night Live skit where Bill Clinton dresses up like Mystery. Anyway, sorry. Going deep into the SNL files. Go ahead. Mystery, the band from Canada. Got it.
Their new album is called Redemption, just released May 15th. Follows in that same line of the RPWLs and that kind of neo-symphonic prog. Really great stuff. Really great songs on here. There's really nothing not to like. The playing is great. This is the first track on the album called Behind the Mirror.
Let's hear it. Just got the cover to Fear of a Blank Planet, followed by the cover of Visions by Haken. It was nice visually.
Yeah, I think that's
I like
great.
that one. That's a good one.
I like that a lot too.
They were formed in 1986 by multi-instrumentalist Michael St. Pierre,
Correct.
maybe. Their self-titled debut, 92. They've been around forever.
Yep.
Let's see how many
It's been a while
albums.
since they released a record, I believe.
All right, so the people out there watching, how many albums are you thinking? Is it 5? Is it 7? Is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8th album, Redemption, in 2023. How about that? They've been around forever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next one is one of your favorites, E-Molecule.
E-Molecule, yes.
E-Molecule, their debut album, The Architect, which came out earlier this year. I want to say in January. It's the duo, Simon Collins and Kelly Nordstrom, formerly of Sound of Contact. Simon Collins is, of course, Phil Collins' son, singer and drummer. Kelly Nordstrom plays guitar and bass. Yeah, and it's this kind of sci-fi prog element to it. Concept album. It has a mix of weird, long, kind of proggy, weird, technical, kind of electronic songs mixed in with some songs that could really be on almost 90s pop radio. It's sort of a mix of that kind of stuff. But when they hit these good choruses, I think it really works, which is on this one here, which is their last video that they just put out called Prison Planet. So
Prison Planet.
Yeah. No, check it
Yeah.
out. And the
Unmute.
mute. You kind of hear that Phil Collins drum sound in there.
Yeah, the gated drum sound.
Yeah.
Actually, I have there's a software suite called Superior Drummer that allows you to model like MIDI drum sounds. Like this kit that I'm on is a MIDI kit. And Hugh, is it Hugh Parham? Something like that. He was the guy that did the
Hugh
thank
Padgham.
you. It's his drum suite, and it has obviously the kit that Phil Collins used, that kind of sound. No one cared, but he also worked with like the Police and a bunch of other Red Hot Chili Peppers,
No, for sure.
so on and so forth. I figured you knew his name. I was close to his name. So I'll be honest, I like Sound of Contact. Like that specific album, I thought was awesome. This one for me, like at least the few songs I've listened to, there's too many like long stretches where I kind of get like bored. And I'll be honest, it reminds me a little bit of what is it, like Lonely Robot? Is that the band? Maybe it doesn't remind
that is a
you
band.
of that. Well, no, it is.
Doesn't
a
remind
band.
me of Lonely Robot. I mean,
Does it remind you of Frost at all?
Stylistically, I think because of the instruments, the sort of little bit of electronic and keyboard heavy based music along with it gives that it's in the same family.
It
I
sort
don't
of has
think
this
it
like
sounds the same.
sterile, like almost like lots of like technological sounds in it, and maybe I'm way off base here, but for some reason I find that to feel cold and not as exciting to me. But
it might almost be by design, though. I think when you're not going to find
Sure.
a lot of piano and acoustic guitars on here, right? So that removes that from it, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah, no, I know
But
it's a
again-
choice. Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
feel like I'm on a prison planet when I listen to it. Is the problem? Just kidding.
well, we're here to just share what's
Oh,
come
we're here to
out.
be positive. Okay, I'm
We're
sorry.
here to just
I'm sorry.
share what's come out. No, it's all good. Okay. Next up is Jason Bieler. who we've covered on here. Again, is he a prog artist? Not completely. I think that's been covered. He's formerly of Saigon Kick, from a big kind of band from the 90s. And he's had a couple solo records now over the last few years. The newest one is Postcards from the Asylum. And the reason why we sort of include it here is that I think it's something that will appeal to the prog fan. And it's been covered on every prog site that has been out there. So it's in that same vibe, like, I don't know, Tears for Fears might be a little bit more poppy than even this, but there's a lot of different styles, elements, weird time signatures at points. A couple of guest stars from the prog world, Marco Minnemann and Ryo Akamoto play on a couple of different songs. So, this is one of those things that almost is educational. It's like, let's teach the prog audience about it because I think you'll like it. So we played a different track on a previous podcast called Flying Monkeys, and that was a sort of weird Frank Zappa one with Marco on drums, and it's all nuts. This one is sort of a more dreamy, lush ballad with a lot of orchestration called Mexico, which I really like. So just wanted to share that because I think this song is actually really nice, really cool.
Here we are, and there we go. Clueless as Neanderthals. We're headless apes with no escape. We stand erect, but eventually we fall.
Great harmonies.
I tried my best, but now
Cool key change.
I'm gonna jump the wall to Mexico, gonna buy some drugs, forget it all. Now I'm illegal.
Good lyric, right?
Did I get that lyric right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy some drugs and get it on.
Wash over us, steal our dreams, repay us while we roll. While we roll. While we roll.
Like, who's not
So-
gonna like that? You know?
I think it's great. And again, I've said this before about this album. I could play 5 different songs from it and it would convey a different style of what the album is. So it doesn't tell you that the whole album is like this at all, which I think is what makes it sort of a fun record.
Can I also just say, amazing beard Jason Bieler has, and we now have had 2 really great beards enter the ring. We had Ray Alder's drummer. I don't know if you caught that in the video.
I did not.
Really get great beard behind those drums. And I just Googled Ray Alder drummer. Nothing showed up, so I feel bad for the guy. But great beard, along with Jason's. But, that was one of those things, like, I listened to it and I was like, great song. Like, who could say anything different? On that specific track, I'm not getting enough that would make me want to, like, necessarily come back to it. But, I mean, what's not to like about a song like that? I mean, sounds
and I
great.
also think the lyric of gonna jump the wall to Mexico, buy some drugs, and get it on. I think this gives you a little bit of insight to his warped mind, which there's a lot of weird lyrics. There's another lyric on a song called Human Head, which is I bought a human head and I placed it on a shelf. It watches over me, something like that. That's the last song on the record. So,
Nice.
all right, so we'll go to Einar Solberg, lead singer for Leprous, his debut solo album called 16. No members from Leprous are on it. It's a bunch of different guests from a bunch of different bands. The singer from Vola's on it. Ishan is he does a song with. Actually, I picked a song that he duets with him on this one, and it's a weird kind of mix. I mean, if you're a Leprous fan, you'll like it, but it's not overly guitar driven. There's a lot of different styles. But if you followed the evolution of Leprous, I think this album makes complete sense.
There's a
And,
rapper on, like, the opening track, right?
It's not the opening track. It's in the middle.
Okay.
But there is Ben Levine, it used to be in Bent Knee. He does
Okay.
sort of a breakdown in the middle of one of the songs called Home, which is really cool. And again, you'd think that sounds weird, but the way it's done and the scope of the record, it's not out of place. It just sort of works. So this is a track called Splitting the Soul. To me, this is the most Leprous sounding one on the record. Very heavy and really cool.
I hardly feel at all when I revive
he had some bad Indian food last night.
You're covering. You got every vocal range on earth in this song.
I was gonna say the vocal melodies he chooses are just unbelievable.
I don't know why, but I love that song. I think it's awesome.
I mean,
That's
I
my
really
favorite
like
song on the record.
Leprous. It's one of those albums, like the most recent Leprous album, Aphelion or whatever.
Yeah.
When you go into it the first time and you really do not know what you're going to expect at all, and it's almost like a horror film in some ways. Like it sort of like sneaks up on you in terms of the songs and the directions they go in, and I think that for progressive rock, like that anything is possible kind of mantra, sometimes gets lost with some of these bands that just feel like they're copying what's been done before. And so I like the idea that there's people in kind of the new movement of prog doing things that aren't expected. If that's a rap bridge or that's whatever the heck that was that we heard, where you're going from almost operatic, high register vocals to growl vocals, like that's cool. Like it keeps it feeling new and different. So
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kudos to him.
That's a great album. I think it's worth checking out. It's different. And,
What's the 16 mean? Do we know? Is there a meaning behind that?
Yeah. So he describes it as when he was 16 is when he first realized, where he was in his life and the struggles that he was going through, and that he wanted to be a musician and all that kind of stuff. Is a turning point in his life. That kind of thing. And It's the first song on the album as well. Okay, next up, Crown Lands. We've covered these guys before, but a lot of people really like this album, so I wanted to revisit it again on this one. Duo from Canada. A lot of things from Canada as well. And they obviously it's been talked about that they have a Rush influence. The opening track is this 18-minute kind of 2112 Space Odyssey type thing. But there's also some other styles on the record. This track that we're going to play is one of the more regular singles, a short, about 5-minute song called Lady of the Lake. Maybe has a bit more of a Zeppelin vibe. But I kind of dig this one too. And I think this is an album that's, done really well to expand their, exposure to everybody. The interview I did with Kevin from the band, the guitar player, has a lot of views. People seem to really be into the band. So let's check out this track a little bit. Man, that's up there, huh? This is so Zeppelin-y, this part.
Yeah.
Right, I dig that. Anyway. Cool.
So I don't hear Zeppelin, I hear Greta Van Fleet doing Zeppelin. And I'm not trying to be a hater.
Fair.
But I hear no Rush in that specific track.
No, not really in this one.
But I definitely hear the Zeppelin,
maybe
mixing
not
all that in there.
The best showcase of what the band really is in that song, but it is the single out right now. So just
I would hope that a
share that
band
one.
wouldn't just try to sound like one band anyway. I mean, that's stupid. But it did seem like they got a lot of their initial kind of rocket fuel from sounding like Rush, and I think being a duo is always like kind of a cool conception. Although they're a songwriting duo, like they're going to play with other people. Obviously, you can't just be two people unless you want to be the White Stripes. But
no, live they play just the two of them.
just two?
Yeah, it's
No
crazy. You haven't seen those?
Okay. No.
The drummer plays like he's playing and sings, and then the guitar player has a double neck bass guitar and bass pedals on the floor and
What?
keyboards in
Okay.
front of him, and he plays all
Okay.
of those instruments, and that's how they play, the two of them.
I stand corrected. Was there not a third guy in that video there playing like I guess that was I'm miscounting members.
No, there's
How
just
about
two
that?
of them. Yeah.
Well,
It's
there
crazy.
were the ladies. There were the ladies of the lake.
The live videos are amazing. No,
Okay,
really,
all
they're
right.
Pretty.
I gotta stop
pretty cool.
sleeping on this band. Send me some more stuff by them. I do respect that.
Yeah.
Bass pedals.
All right. Next is yes, of course. We can't
Who?
not leave We can't leave these guys out. Their 23rd album, I want to say, Mirror to the Sky, which just came out a couple months ago. A lot of people sort of hailing this one back as maybe their best album since Fly From Here or even Magnification. I agree, it's better than the previous two that John Davison sang on. There's a lot of really cool stuff on this record. It's the most proggy album in a long time. A lot of long songs. The title track is one we're going to play a bit here. There's really, when you're picking 30 seconds to a minute of anything from Yes, generally it's impossible. The ideas from the long songs, which are the cool songs, take forever to develop, and it doesn't really show you much. But there's one particular part of this song I like. It's the ending. There's no vocals in this part, but I think it's a really cool moment on the record.
Sorry, John.
So I just wanted to share it because you're not going to see this as part of any of the singles or anything like that that's out. So, we'll check this out for a little bit.
And now on Disney VHS. This is cool, though. Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's an extended solo bit towards the end.
Unmistakably Steve Howe.
That's
mean,
badass,
some
right?
timpani.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Who's orchestrating that stuff for them?
Oh man, you can ask
Is
me
that
that name.
Downs?
No, it's
it's a different guy.
Paul Casey Orchestra, I want to say.
Okay, so
they've worked with him before. Yeah, it's a full real orchestra. Yeah.
I
But
mean,
that's
cool.
I think that part's really cool, and it's again, that's like one of those things where you can't put that out. That can't be this, like, even though it may be the best part on the album, you have to buy the album to ever get to listen to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's cool. Steve Howe is 76. I just Googled it just to make sure, and he's writing that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great. So Jethro Tull released their new album called Rock Flute, spelled ROKFL. Is it OTE with the umlauts over? And translated, it may not mean rock flute, but that is what it's supposed to be, is rock flute. Anyway, this is a really cool album. A lot of people have said this sounds very much like old classic Tull records, even more so than the Zealot Gene, which was released just a year ago. There's a lot of cool guitar parts and kind of upbeat songs throughout this album. A lot of the classic flute playing that Ian Anderson is known for. And it's an interesting record to listen to. So we're going to play a little bit off one of the singles called The Navigators. And so many buttons. All right, hold on.
Ian Anderson, 75 years old.
Calls to lumbering navigators who venture far from harbor home, burning with that lust of feisty fisher folk who live to roam.
You recognize the face in the video?
The face.
Yeah. You know who that person is in there? That's our good buddy Christian Rios.
No, it is Christian. Wow. Way to go, Christian. It's amazing.
Our good friend
I didn't know
Christian
that.
made that video and makes a guest appearance. Yeah. All right, Catatonia are back with a new album called Sky Void of Stars. Another great album from them. I think the last one was City Burials from a few years ago. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and they took some time off. They didn't get to tour and then they ended up writing this new record. This has been my favorite album of theirs in a long time. This is really, really good stuff. I'm just going to jump into the single here, which is the album's first track called Austerity. So there are quite a few A-title tracks on this album. But this one is, this is the first track on the record, and it's really cool and heavy and awesome. Hold on.
Cool, heavy, and awesome.
Kill off the fortune tellers. You say that woe is always on your mind. You drag me back in for a breath of comfort. No longer telling wrong from right. The ghost-like horizon of your eye. I hear things aren't well since you
I love that
sold me
tempo.
out.
The beat there.
I remember you clear.
Anyway, I think
Man,
that's
I-
awesome. That's one of my favorite songs of the year, to be honest with you.
Really?
I really like it.
If anyone out there watching can tell me the time signature of that part, I'd be very impressed. You know, that actually, I feel like my reference pool is getting more and more limited as I get older, but that reminds me of Ghost, like the way he sings. It kind of reminds me of that, but this is where Roy disagrees and says, no, actually, it reminds me of this 1998 band that
No, you know what? I don't have
Had
a
an EP.
reference to what this sounds like. I
Yeah.
really don't. I don't hear
huge
Ghost,
sounding
though.
drums. It's got that Catatonia. Where are they from? Are they European?
Yes. I want to say Norway.
Yeah. There's just a certain style to European lead singer vocals to me. Like you can sort of kind of hear that it's a little
No,
different.
not
but
Norway. Swedish. Sorry.
Swedish. It's good.
Yeah,
So
I like that a
Sky
lot.
Void of Stars, great counterpart to Coldplay's Sky Full of Stars.
Sky Full of Stars.
This is like
sounds,
the
sounds about the same.
nihilistic version of, Coldplay. This is great.
Well, and now we're gonna get back to an album I rarely talk about, the debut from a band called Okrist,
Who?
called the V's are U's. That's all I keep telling people. So Okrist from Norway, debut album called The Approbation just came out. A couple of singles have been out. I just did a reaction video for a different song, so I would ask that you go check that out because I think it's a great song and I hope people get the chance to listen to it. This is a really great album from beginning to end, not a bad moment on it. I'm just going to play a little bit of one of the singles called Arcane Clouds. Here we go.
I know that you want me to try to hunt them down. All I know is my mind. I know that you want me to try to find a way. Down we go into deep dark clouds.
This is the Scandinavian portion of our show. Catatonia, you're right, Swedish.
Should have
Okrist,
I should have
Norwegian.
grouped these by region. That's what I should have
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
If I get
I'm just-
rid of this buzz. I'm sorry if
Uh,
there's a buzzing. I hear a buzzing. Maybe
I don't
it's
hear
not
a
coming
buzzing.
out.
I hear some great new prog music that came out in the first half of 2023. I'll be honest. We've given you a hard time for the pronunciation of Okrist. It's not like, to me, I get it now. The V's or U's or whatever, but it's a great album. It's really good, really dark. Also, for whatever it's worth, I like the style of their music videos. I like that they actually went for something.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Kind of cinematic. It seems like 90% of music videos these days are just band plays in a warehouse, but cool videos. So it's got this Francis the Mute vibe. That's what it reminds me of. People with bags on their heads. Don't know what that means.
The only thing
but
that I actually
like it.
thought, the first video was like a part one, is how they set it up, because it says to be continued, and then this was going to be the second one, and I just kept waiting for some really gory, bloody something to happen at the end when that metal part comes at the end, and it just doesn't happen, But I just thought it'd be a decapitated head or something was coming, and nothing happens.
Maybe part 3. We'll get Ockrest on the line and tell him.
I tell you what I really like about what we're doing with this podcast is the diversity of the music, because we're going from I guess you could argue Catatonia and Ockrest are in the same family musically, but the next one is really not. It's Kite Parade, which is from the UK. It's basically all one guy except for the drumming. Andy Foster, he plays pretty much everything and writes everything. Follow up to his first album called The Way Home, which came out a couple years ago. And this is a really great record. If you're a fan of, stuff like Transatlantic, Spock's Beard, the Neil Morrissey kind of music, Frost, that kind of stuff.
This is one of my favorites on this list.
I think this is in there. And this is one of my favorite albums of the year, because everything on this album is just great. The guy writes amazing hooks and has just enough cool technical prog elements thrown out to keep you interested. And the songs there's a lot of long songs, a couple of short ones in there. It's a whole mix of really cool stuff. So I dig this, and I think everybody should get to know this record. This is the title track, the opening single. Anyway, that's a long song. You can see. By the way, drumming on that is Nick DiVirgilio, who plays on, I think, 5 out of the 6 songs. So that's another, right there. If you like that kind of stuff that Nick does, you get the idea.
And if you don't like the things that Nick does on the drums, you're an idiot. So he's definitely one of the best drummers. I was listening to The Myth of Mostrophus again the other day. And
our good buddy Ryo Akamoto's album. Yep.
His drumming is so good on that.
Yeah, really is.
But,
all right, coming down the home stretch, got 3 more here. Another great one from Periphery, Periphery 5, Gent is Not a Genre. I think this is their best album. You like this album, right? Have you heard this album?
I have heard this album. Periphery is one of those bands that I like it. I listen to every album they do, and then I don't find myself coming back to it. And it's nothing to say other than just it's not like in my wheelhouse. But this one has been my favorite. I really liked Hail Stan. I thought there was some really good stuff on that. Was it Reptile? That was really cool on that song.
Reptile's a really good song, yeah.
But and I've seen Periphery in concert. I love Matt Halpern's drumming. It's just Gent as a general concept. It's not a genre, but it's also not my favorite thing. But this one is cool because in between the songs, it's linked with all this orchestration, and I think they really took a step up with how they approached this album. So great album. And this is a great song.
I like this one a lot. I do listen to this album. I have returned to this album over the last few months from time to time, and just a good mix of what they've done over their whole career, and I think they took it up a notch with this one.
And an AI generated music video.
Yeah, and this is called Atropo, second single and second track on the album. That's a chorus, which I really like a lot, but then I love the transition into this next part, which I think is some of the stuff I really like that they do. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I think that's really good. Cool. All right. Next one is going to be Riverside with their album ID Entity. I want to say. There's a dot after the ID. And this is their 8th record. First one with the new guitar player as an official member. And yeah, this one they went a little bit retro on a bunch of the songs. There's a little bit of a kind of 80s Rush kind of vibe on some of this. And this is a really fantastic album. I mean, all their albums are consistent. They don't really make a bad record. They change just enough stylistically from each one. Some album is darker than the next one or not. This one is a bit more upbeat than the last one. Obviously, the last one was dealing with the death of their drummer and death of their guitar player, and
Peter.
It was a lot of it was written about that. This one is sort of them coming out of that, and you know, great lyrics, great videos actually to go with all this stuff. So this is the opening track called "Friend or Foe." Check that out. That part at the end there, I can't think of anyone or anything out right now that sounds like that.
Yeah, this is my favorite album of the year so far, and I'll be shocked if it's not my favorite for the whole year. I love it. I like when bands take that sort of approach to an album. Like, it's almost as if we took a time machine back to, 1985 or 86, and we're like, we're gonna make an album. I mean, Haken did the same thing with 1985, and that remains is that Affinity, I guess, but
Affinity is the album,
yeah, that remains my favorite album of theirs, just because I like that choice. Kind of helps surround the album in a way thematically that makes it make sense. You can do that with films and things like that too. I just think it makes it more interesting, and you kind of have to work within the confines of that decision. Riverside for me is my favorite modern prog band. I just feel like everything they do consistently is great. So
yeah, hard to argue. They're awesome.
High praise to them.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna close it out with Haken and their latest album, Fauna, and that's their 7th record, I guess. Yeah, I think it's their 7th record. They've been touring. I just saw them a little while ago over here. They were in North America. They're just awesome. I think they are killing it with everything they do. All their albums have these cool themes. They try and explore new boundaries musically on this one as well. Same way Riverside kind of does. They try not to make the same album twice. Live, they're just unmatched. Ross is just really great frontman right now. So they just released a new video for the track Love Bite, a sort of a compilation of live footage from their UK tour. And we'll finish up on this one here a little bit. Let's get that going. This is a great song. That's really good.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's everything.
It's nice to end there with Riverside and Haken. Those would be my two choices for who's going to carry the torch when all the other guys, hang it up. Many other bands, but those two in particular, for me at least.
Well, I mean, you know what the crazy thing is? I mean, Haken's been around since 2010 was the first album, and Riverside's been around for a few more years than that, almost about 20 years. They just celebrated their 20-year anniversary, actually. So they're not.
Well,
you know,
okay.
they've been around a while too. So yeah, I mean, time flies. Even all these Foo Fighters have been around 30 years. You know, we talked about them before, and they seem like a new band all the time, but they've been around forever.
Yeah.
So you know, it's weird. It really goes by quickly. So anyway, that's 15 songs. I'm sure we left out a bunch of stuff. I'm sure we'll get comments about how could we leave out X, Y, and Z. So please let us know what we missed and what some of your favorites were. Leave in the comments or on the YouTube video or on socials or wherever you watch this. Anything
Do you have
else
a favorite from this, or can you not say? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, it is hard for me to pick a favorite because I really like them all.
Is it Kite Parade?
I have to wait.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because we rank this stuff at the end of the year, so you know this is we'll see how many of these things make it onto the year-end list.
I cannot pick a favorite. I like them all.
Wow. They're all good. I think it was a good variety. So good job picking the 15. For me at least, I had not listened to all this, and so I feel bad. I feel like I showed up for the final and had not studied some of it. So
honestly, there's stuff. I'm sure there's great stuff we left out. It's just hard to go through and pick even just 15. But look, I think it shows the diversity of what's out there. Very few of these were similar, and yet somehow they all fall under stuff all prog people listen to. You know, I think when you can listen to Periphery, Jethro Tull, and Jason Bieler all in one sitting, that's pretty cool. So I dig that about what we get to listen to.
Yeah, right on.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you again next time.